Do we think Jaden Davis has a role in this year's offense similar to JJ in 2021? And I'll say no. I mean, JJ McCarthy was, I think, a little more college ready. I think the arm talent, at least to me, was just a little more tailor made for an early role. And he was more of kind of a change of pace and a mobile guy, too. I think that Jaden Davis is mobile. We saw that a little bit in the spring game, but he's not a guy where, if you're going to bring another quarterback on the field to run the football or throw a different look at someone, it's going to be Alex Orji. And Alex Orji is either going to be your starting quarterback or he's going to be in a platoon with either Jack Tuttle or Davis Warren. So I feel like, and this is no disrespect to Jaden Davis at all, I feel like this year he kind of gets put on ice. Let him run the scout team against that defense every single week. Let him learn, let him physically grow, let him settle into the role. I really do, unless your guy is a pro prospect right out of the box or college ready right out of the box, I don't see him having much of a role this year unless, God forbid, the wheels fall off early on and all of a sudden you are building towards next year. So I don't expect to see him this year unless they're mopping things up in the fourth quarter against Arkansas State.
Yeah, and I think that's the plan with Jaden Davis at this point. Kirk Campbell talked after the spring game, and he said that Jaden Davis was the only one out of the 5 scholarship quarterbacks who didn't receive first-team reps this spring. Jaden Davis is a high-level competitor. I'm sure he would love to be Michigan's starting quarterback and wants to be that down the road, but it feels like him and his family are pretty comfortable with the idea of him kind of taking that year to redshirt and learn behind a lot of these other guys. And when you look around college football, that's not a bad spot to be in. I mean, look at the, guys who were Heisman finalists the last couple of years and some of these high quarterback draft picks this season, Drake May, Michael Penix. I mean, these guys were in college for a really long time. And Jaden Daniels, was not the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at LSU when he was a freshman at Arizona State. Like, they almost feel like two different players. You could kind of see some of the potential when you're watching him beat Michigan State twice in his first couple of years there and honing in on those games. And
people
maybe
forget that.
Yeah, watching a little bit more of him, in bits and pieces. But, there is something to waiting. So long-winded way of saying, I think, you're completely right. I think that he is going to wait his turn, but I do think he's going to probably show some flashes when he gets in games, maybe late in a game. Now, this is a really tough schedule. I don't think the reserves are going to get to play as much as they have the last couple seasons. Michigan winning games in 2022 by 50 points and whatever it was, 59 against UConn, things like that. But he'll get probably a shot in 2, 3, 4 games, and we'll see him. But you hit the nail right on the head as well. With JJ came in to run the football, most of the time, and it worked a lot. But it was that change of pace. And, really the only time I remember him throwing a pass in a significant part of the game was against Ohio State when he had that pass along the sideline to Roman Wilson. That was a pretty key first down, I think, early in the third quarter. And then I know he started the third quarter at Wisconsin that season. I don't remember if that drive ended up with him scoring on a quarterback sneak. But I don't remember if he threw a pass on that drive. Other than that, like, the significant snaps he was in for, and I may be forgetting 1 or 2, were to run the football. And Jaden Davis is just a different guy with a different skill set. He's going to be more of a pocket passer, passing quarterback than JJ is more of the dynamic athlete. So couldn't agree with you more. And it'll be interesting to watch Jaden Davis's progression, this season and, through fall camp. I think it was valuable experience for him to be there during the bowl games and everything and see those rings, on April 20th that those guys were able to get. And, realize that he wants to be the next guy to lead Michigan to one of those. Maybe it'll be somebody before him, but he'll be one of those next guys to do it.
Yeah, wrote about the QBs earlier today over on the Wolverine.com, so be sure to check that out. I think when you talk about Jaden Davis, just to park here for just a little bit longer, you look at the skill set right now, I think it's kind of a nice combination of what all of the guys competing for the starting job bring to the table, except for maybe, if you could put him in Jaden Denegal's body, then that might be you might really be kind of cooking with gas there. But If all things like if I'm the Michigan staff right now, I'm preparing Jaden Davis to compete for the starting job in 25. It's less about this year. This year's developmental. It's about the classroom stuff, the film study, the physical stuff. I think that's where the priority lies there. And then, you evaluate, you see what type of growth he makes. And, again, going into this is where it gets fascinating going into next year. If Davis Warren or Alex Orji are just kind of stopgap guys, because there's a chance one of those guys could win the job, and then they're your starting quarterback the next 2 years. Like if it works out well enough, that's great. But I think it's probably more likely we're talking about a battle again this time next year, and unless they dip into the portal for someone, which could always happen too. But when it comes to the future at the quarterback position, there's been a lot of gripes about recruiting and things like that. And we have a question on that coming up, but I feel like they're in pretty good hands moving forward with Jaden Davis, with Carter Smith, with the transfer portal as a potential asset, and having a timeline that more aligns with adding at that position. Knowing if you have a need to add there, I think is beneficial for them. So just gotta. I don't want to say get through this year because that makes it. That comes with the implication that it's going to be a slog and not very good. We don't know what it's going to look like yet, but I think it's going to be a lot more intriguing when we have this conversation this time next year.